So in these times we're in, while we're at home now, we're stationary, we're more confined to our home space. I've put these three movements together specifically because we are much more stationary. Our energy and blood is becoming more stagnant. So these exercises are designed to keep your blood and energy moving. So, hello everyone, I hope you and your families are all keeping well. This is Alex. He's come along today to help shoot a video, a quick film on 3 Qigong movements, and each movement is specifically based on moving your energy and blood. So to start with, I'm just going to go through the basic structure of how you position your body. So Alex, if you want to sit down, and so the foot, we're dealing with 2 points on the foot, or 2 areas. One is the front of the foot here, or the balls of the feet. This is the stability line of the foot. So this is where we want to, when we're standing, this is where we're going to keep our weight. The centre of the heel is the other point. The centre of the heel is always going to remain flat on the floor. So if you want to stand next. So when you stand, your feet never want to exceed the outsides of your shoulders. So the outside of your foot is never on the outside of your shoulder. Your feet are in, basically, inside your shoulders.
So never like this?
No, never like that.
Like that.
They're never like this. They're never like this. Your feet want to be parallel, like 2 train tracks, straight. And remember, the outside of the foot goes no further than the outside of the shoulder. Your knee joint wants to be ever so slightly off locked. Lovely, very good. Your hips want to relax so they're nice and soft. Your hands want to face the outsides of your legs. Very good. It's like the anatomical position. The chin comes in and the back of the neck opens. So from this point, what we do is we do something called settling in. And when we settle in, it's like we're preparing our body to do Qigong. So we want to get our minds inside our bodies a little bit. So, and the best way to do this is to feel your feet. So position your skeleton, remember, over the front aspect of your foot, on the balls of your feet with your heel down. And just let your mind settle down and come down right to your feet where they contact the floor. And just feel your feet. And as you feel your feet, just see if you can start to soften your feet. So your feet become softer on the floor. Keep softening your feet. Your mind generally will want to drift away, but keep coming back to the soles of your feet, checking that you're forward, your heel down, and softening your feet. Preparing our mind to go inwards and feel inwards. Feeling your feet, keep softening your feet. When you feel like your mind's calm and you have a good sense of being inside your body, we're going to start the first movement. The first movement is skeletal bouncing. When we start with skeletal bouncing, remember to align yourself, Alex. That's it. So your feet are nice and straight. We want to open the midriff. The midriff is the space between the bottom of your ribs and the top of your hip. So if we put our hands on the bottom, so the pinky finger is going to go on the bottom of the rib. So if you dig your hands in like this, you'll feel where the bottom of your ribs are. Your hands, your pinky finger wants to be on the bottom of your ribs. Okay? So remember, our weight's forward, just like we've been doing. Our heels down. You bring your mind inside your body and you start to relax through your guts. So you're going to start letting go of your abdominal cavity. So you start from this area here, and you start to relax and drop. And if you really get this right, it feels like a sandbag dropping through the insides of your body. So just really start to let go inside your guts, let go of your abdominal muscles or your rectus muscles, these big muscles here, completely let go of them. And then see if you can let your hips drop away from the bottom of your ribs. So this sense of your hips dropping away, that you're creating more space in the midriff. Because what we want to do, we want to get the blood to come out the internal organs and down into the legs. So if we start to bounce, now the bouncing, before we start, there's one rule to it. You cannot bounce with your knees. You do not bounce with your knees. You're going to end up with painful knees if you do it this way. Your knees are going to go forward a little bit, but it wants to come out your pelvis. So if you let go through this area and just see if you can start to bounce. And what you're looking for is your own natural spring. So keep your weight forward, so you're on the stability line. And as you bounce, finding your spring, you want your hips to hit like a pressure hitting that point on the centre of your heel. So the weight stays forward and the hips are bouncing.
So it's almost as if the weight, as you push through the hips, is going through the back of the legs into the heel.
Exactly.
But you're not lifting the heel up.
You're not lifting the heel up. Your feet remain completely flat all the time. You do not want your feet doing this, moving around. Your knees stay stable. All this bouncing comes out of your hips. When you feel like you've got your own spring, your own natural spring, you have to find it in yourself. Everyone has one. You can let your hands drop. We come back into the anatomical position where our palms are facing our hips and keep bouncing. Weight forward. The hips bounce onto the centre of the heel. Keep bouncing. All the time, feeling on the floor, your weight's forward, your heels are down. Do not let your feet come off the floor. All the time, staying in your own natural spring. Now you see, Alex's spring is relatively quite small to mine. He's been doing it not long. I've been doing this for 20 years. So you don't want to be doing what I'm doing. You're going to be more like Alex when you do this. So keep your spring nice and small. Keep it safe. You don't want to hurt yourself. Remember, we don't want to be doing this. The knees do not come forward. It's all coming out your hips.
So it's just soft knees and the bounce through the hips.
All the time, softening any strength you feel in your feet, your legs. The more you can let go, the better you'll find the spring, the more fluid your bounce will be. Now over time as you do this, the bounce, the spring is going to come up your skeleton. And when it does, the first area you want to contact is the armpit. So the hips are going to start bouncing the armpit cavity. But you do not bounce your armpits. The hips are the conductor, the armpits are the band. The hips are what are bouncing the armpits. Remember to check your feet. You're forward, heel down.
And it's the same with chin still down.
Yeah, chin still in. You don't want to let your skeleton collapse. You're upright. Keep bouncing. And once you get the armpits going, you can get the elbow going. So you bring your mind onto your elbows and let the elbows join in. The hips are the conductor, the arms are the band. All the time, being in your natural spring. Checking you're not doing it from your knees. It's all coming out your hips. It's a great exercise to move your energy. Okay. For people doing this, I want you to go over it twice from the beginning and make sure you're doing this correct, because we're going to add to this. So we want to make sure you're doing this first bit right before you add to it. So the channels that we're going to trace are the inside of the leg, which comes, as you see, from the toe, up inside of the knee, comes up, and then comes up the channels there, and the end point is right there. You see the line that goes back there? This is where you're tracing around the side of your rib cage, and then you see the channel drop down towards the bottom of the foot, and then you're going to go around the foot and reconnect with the inside of the leg and back up this channel, back up to the point here, go around and back down again. So as I said, the insides of the legs are what move blood more, or are much more related to the movement of blood. The outside of the legs are much more involved with moving chi. This whole exercise is based on, these three exercises are based in moving our energy and blood. So for the second part of this exercise, we go into the same alignment. Remember your feet, everything's the same. Your weight's forward, the heels down, your knees ever so slightly off locked, your hips nice and loose. So Alex has already gone a little bit wider, you see, so I'm going to get a little bit narrower. Very good, Alex. So this next exercise, we're going to trace the meridians of the inside of the leg, which moves the blood, and the outside of the leg, which is more related to moving energy. So if you're doing this with someone, you can do what I'm doing with Alex. If not, I'll show you how you do it on your own once I've done this bit. So your partner is going to tap the inside of the foot, the inside of the leg, up to the rib cage, around the rib cage, down the outside of the leg, all the way to the ankle, around the foot, inside, up, down, around. 5 times on each leg. And then you swap. And what this does, the person that's receiving the tap, is down to them to feel where you're tapping, because this is where you're going to be tracing. So if you're on your own, we'll do this together, Alex, now. Okay. So it's the same thing, you're just going to tap yourself, or you can tap yourself and not do it as partners. It's completely up to you. So you start with the outside, you come round, tap up the inside of your legs, down the outside of your legs. We do this 10 times, yeah? Up and down. Okay, so the next bit is we're going to do flicking. So if we have drops of water on our fingertips, the best way to get it off is to flick it. So what we're going to do is flick, 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 flick. You want your wrist to go really, really loose when you do this. And just imagine you're flicking water off the ends of your fingers. So it's the flick that brings the back, flick that brings the back, flick that brings the back, yeah? Let your wrists go really loose, your hands go soft, really soft.
So when you flick, are you flicking from your elbows, from your shoulder?
From the wrist.
Just the wrist?
From the
just
wrist.
the wrist, okay.
Always from the wrist.
So it's a small movement?
Yes, really small. It's not, we're not doing this.
Okay.
You can do, that's more complicated. this from the wrist. So the pathways we just tapped, we're going to trace these as we do this. So your hands are going to point to the bottom of your ankle joint, and you're going to direct your flick down towards the inside your ankles. And then you're going to bring your hands up your legs, inside your legs to your groins, around the ribs, down the outsides of the legs to your contact, a sense of a contact with the outside of your foot. Then you come around your foot, inside ankle bone, up your calf, your knee, your thighs, your groins, your torso, around your rib cage, down the outside your rib cage, your hip sockets, outside your thighs, outside of your shins, outside your ankle bone, around your foot. And up. Around. And down. And up. Around. And down. And up. Around. And down. Around your foot. Up the inside of the leg. Onto the body. Around the ribs. Down the outsides of the legs. And keep your weight forward as you do this. Flicking the water off your fingers. Around your foot, up the inside your legs, around your rib cage, down the outsides of the legs, down to the floor. And rest. Okay. I want you all to go over that one more time to make sure you've really got it before we move on. So it's much better that you repeat this because we're going to put all this stuff together so you become really familiar. So the third exercise, we're going to trace the same pathways, but we're not going to flick this time. So our hands, like before, it's the same skeletal alignment. Your weight's always forward. Your hands are going to start on the outsides of your legs. You're going to come around your foot to the inside ankle bone, so your middle finger, if you like, is pointing towards the inside ankle bone. You're going to come up the inside your leg. When you get to your pelvis, your hands are going to turn. When you get to just below the chest, your hands are going to separate, so they're going to come around towards the back, and your hands are going to come onto the spine. You push down the spine, right down to the tailbone, come around the hips, and your hands come at the starting point. So, around, up, back, push down the spine, down towards the hips, around the hips, back to the starting point. And again, up, around, contact your spine, push down your spine, come around your hips, you're brushing your hips, and then you start here again, around, up, back, hands join at the spine, come down the spine, just let your hands drop, come around your hips, back to the beginning, and again, up, back, connect to the spine, brush down your spine, come around your hips, back to the beginning, and again. Easy movement. You want your movement to become really soft and fluid. You don't want it to be jagged, jerky. It wants to be soft. Keep your hands really soft. And down. Come around. Up. Back. And down.
So where are you looking to feel it mainly as you come up?
On the pathways that we tapped.
Oh.
So as we go down, you actually want your, we go down, you want it to go down, and when you come here and come around, you want to feel a connection with the outsides of your feet. You want to trace around your feet, so your hands connect to the insides of your ankles. You're coming up your legs to here, your hands go back, push down, brush your body, brush your hips, and connect. One more time. You can see it from the back again. So in Chinese classical medicine, the internal organs have a sound. They all have a sound that manipulates the qi in the body in a certain way. The noise or the sound that moves qi in the body, or moves qi through the liver and gallbladder channels, these pathways we've been working on, is spelt the letter X, the letter U, and it's pronounced shh. So if we come back to the movement, as our hands come around and our hands come up, we breathe in slowly through our noses, come back, around, back, so when you're going down with a noise, you want to relax through your heels. You want your heels to sink as you start to go down. So remember, as your hands are coming up, your skeletal weight is always forward, coming up, back, connect at the spine. And again. Stand. Okay, same as the other two exercises. I want you to go back over this movement, and repeat it. And then we're going to put it all together. So I assume that you've been over each one twice and you're familiar with each one, because we're going to put things together now, so it's going to feel a little bit more complicated. So that's why I asked you to do each one twice, minimum. Especially the bounce, because the bounce, you can, if you don't really get that right and you're doing it with your knees, you can hurt your knees. So all of you with knee problems, be very mindful of this. So yeah, be mindful that you're bouncing from your pelvis and not your knees. So just like in the beginning, you know the setup now. Your weight is going to come forwards. Your knees are nice and soft and relaxed. Your heels are down. The palms of your hands are facing the outside of your legs. Your chin's tucked in to open up the occiput. And bring your sense of feeling and your mind back onto the soles of your feet again. Just feel your feet. That's all you're doing. Just letting your mind become present and aware of your feet. Your connection to the ground. And just see if you can start to let your feet soften. Let them give way into the ground. Let your breath become really soft. Let your mind settle in your body. You're telling your body you're doing Qigong. So now we've settled in. We feel our weight in the ground, our weight's forward. Your heels down. Start to find your natural spring again. Really start to let go through your hips. If you need to, hold your ribs again. If you're familiar with it, just start bouncing. Look, find your natural spring. Now what this spring, this bouncing does is, from your heart, your descending aorta comes down. At this point it separates and becomes the femoral artery. And what you're doing, this bounce is you're pushing the blood through the femoral artery. So what you're doing in effect is pushing blood through your legs. Make sure your feet always stay flat. All the time, staying in your natural spring. Remember, the hips are the conductor, the main joint of the body. See if you can connect it to your armpits. First of all, just put your mind into your armpit. And see if you can connect your armpits with your pelvis. And what that means is that the bounce is going through your skeleton, your internal organs, and up into your arms. It's moving your energy and blood. That's the whole purpose of this. If you've connected your armpits, your shoulders, you can go for your elbow joint. First of all, just let your mind feel your elbow joint. Best to feel through the inside there. That's where the cavity is. See if you can get the elbows to join in. Keep checking your feet. Heel forward, heel down. Remember the bounce is going into your heel, centre of your heel. See if you can start to soften your legs, your calves, your shins, the legs. Let the muscles go. You can bounce slow, you can slow it right down. For those of you like an aerobic exercise, aerobic workout, you can do this fast. But only if you're doing it well. Or medium paced. Now you've got all your arms going, see if you can just have a sense that the crown of your head is lifting. So bring your chin in slightly as you bounce, and see if you can gently lift up the crown of your head. So your pelvis is moving away from your head. It's bouncing up through the spine, the column, right up to the back of the head. Checking your feet, weights forward, heels are back. Okay, we can start to bring our hands into this. Remember the hands, the shaking of the hands, the flicking of the water away from the fingertips. Just keep it down by your sides to start with on the outside. Get a nice rhythm going, so you're flicking and bouncing together. Anytime you need to stop, you're tired, don't push. Just pause it. If you feel like carrying on again, just press play again. Flicking the wrists, flicking the fingertips as you bounce, in coordination. So we start to come around the foot, up the inside of the leg, up the rib cage, around the rib cage, down the outside of the leg, till you feel a sense of a connection to the outside of your foot, and around again. Around the foot, inside ankle, up the inside of the leg, up the body, around your rib cage, down the outsides of your legs, around your foot, more. You go down, weight forward, heel down. Let your mind settle down into the floor. The third part. Hands come around, connect to the inside ankle bone, up, back, up, back, connect to the ground, around your feet, up, back, connect the hands down the spine. Last one. Hands drop to the sides, weights forward, heels down. One hand comes over the lower abdomen, the other thumb connects underneath, one hand on top. Bring your elbows in to connect to your rib cage. Let everything settle into your lower belly. Everything's closing inwards, so it's like a closing, a sealing inwards. Let your mind sink into your lower belly. So do feel free to forward these on to people, your friends, your family. These are very useful exercises in terms of moving your energy and blood. So they can be very helpful for people, especially these people that are going to be isolated for 12 weeks. It's important for them to keep things moving, so they don't get stagnant. It's important for all of us. So anyway, have fun. Thank you.